This is Jackie with All Access, and I'm here with Live at Ohio's Rock on the Range. We're here day one. Day's just getting started. The weather is actually cooperating, so not to knock on wood for us. What sort of bands, what rock bands did you grow up listening to on the radio?
Wow. I mean, it was a really wide range, but, in particular being from York, Pennsylvania, there were a ton of metal bands that were on the radio. So, I don't know, I can remember, Def Leppard and stuff like that, just as a kid, and rocking out to, High and Dry and, I don't know, Pyromania, and I don't know. There was definitely metal stuff, Ozzy Osbourne. And then when we were, we discovered this tiny little record store, and I remember I went in and I found a Ramones record, and then I found I think U2's Boy, and sort of my life was changed. I was like, wow, there are bands that play, different music and that. So I was influenced all across the board.
Very nice. Was there one, you mentioned that there was a metal radio station. What was your favorite radio station? You remember growing up listening to something?
Gosh, I don't remember the radio stations. And I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina.
A little bit different.
It was like Kiss 100 or that kind of stuff. I mean, it was more hair metal than in Charlotte, or a lot of, The Cure. I like The Cure, stuff like that. But where I was from, there was way more REM and college, a lot more of that kind of thing when that was happening in the mid to late 80s, So
It's good. We're of the same generation. I understand all those bands. And kids, if you don't, please look it up. There's YouTube now.
But definitely Deftones. For me, Deftones has been my favorite. It kind of encompasses all my favorite heavy bands. Because I like the melody. I like melodic music, but really heavy melodic music. And they do that very well.
They do that very well. Now, you guys have been around since the early 90s. Not to, put...
We formed in 1985. How about that?
And you were kids.
So that's, 30 years now?
I'm a little bit younger. No, I'm not. I'm not gonna even go there. But what do you attribute to your band's longevity?
Lots of hit songs. I mean, really, honestly, the fact that we had big radio hits, people want to come out and they want to hear those. And then probably our willingness to, commit ourselves and be devoted to putting on an outstanding live performance. Live was not named for being a live performance act. It was to be in the moment. But as it turned out, it was sort of the center of the band. And people always love to see a great live show, so they keep coming out. Thank God. It's awesome.
They do, and radio still plays. On my drive, DC 101, based where I'm out of, is still playing songs off of Throwing Copper. I mean, so your songs hold the test of time. I mean,
when I was a kid, I can remember in York, Pennsylvania, anytime I drove south with my parents, I would beg them to turn on DC 101. And, people will remember Howard Stern was there at one time, and that's where I first heard Howard Stern and all that stuff. But they were always playing, rock and roll that just was not played in our area. And then later on, WHFS was the alternative rock channel, and that's where, live sort of became a staple. Both of those radio stations, really.
Definitely. It's nice that, there is an outlet for rock and metal, because it sort of started very underground a long, long time ago. Not just Throwing Copper, but many of your albums sold over 20 million copies. You played SNL, you've toured the world. You've been here for a while. How do you measure success now?
Chad, you take that.
Well, I don't know. No, Chris, how are you measuring success?
Well, I'm still the new guy, so it's all aces on my side. It's been fantastic. I think it's a tremendous honor to get to play all these old songs and see the love in the crowd, and it's a blessing for all of us. Man, it's great.
I think that the same metric that I used when I was a kid, I use today, which is the moment I got to essentially quit my day job and be a full-time musician, was the greatest day of my career, and every day since that day has been blissful, and we're really, 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 really blessed to have the fan base that we do, and to be able to still make music and also get along with each other. And I don't know, we're so grateful and appreciative of not only, where our career has been, but also the fact that we have a bright future. We just put out a new record. I personally think it's in the top 3 of all the live records, and I don't know. I encourage people that haven't heard the record yet to get out and to buy it, download it, steal it from your parents, however that works. New music is where it's at. We don't want to be a quote unquote heritage rock band. We want to make new music.
And The Turn came out last year. How has your sound evolved? How has the band's sound evolved?
Well, I think with the addition of me into the mix, it's changed. But the heart of the band is still the same as on Throwing Copper. There's just the way that Chad and Patrick play. I mean, they literally learned to play together. They taught each other how to play from like kids.
Middle school.
So, the rhythm section is just so amazing. Like it's like nothing I've ever really played with. So that's not really going to go anywhere, Really, we just might change up the landscape and some melodic. We mix it up now with me because I do a little more with the vocal range stuff than maybe previous albums that you guys have had. I don't know, but
I would probably say that we've embraced, probably honestly the heavier side of the band. I think that like from Lakini's Juice in 1997 with Secret Samadhi moving forward, there was this end of the band that I don't know, it was itching to get out, and with in particular with Chris's vocal range, which is pretty high, we can stay really hard and intense and have his vocals soar over it. So it sort of opened up new musical possibilities for us. And I think also the other thing is, when we were writing, say, Throwing Copper, there was no influence of, our contemporaries. Like, I mean, I knew the guys in Soundgarden and in Nirvana, but I wouldn't have called them influences at the time. I mean, we were from such a small town. But now, all those years later, it's like, all those records are my staple records. I love how those bands played and how they sounded, and now they're influences. So that's, I think, even early live, I think, is an influence on the band.
And now we're here at Rock on the Range. You guys have played countless shows. What makes a festival like this different? Do you prefer the outdoor festivals, or do you prefer the more intimate concerts, like indoor?
It's hit or miss. I mean, some of them, we're a little older, so we joke, but it's like we normally watch these things from home on Access or whatever we got, so. But it's fun. It's a lot of fun, and that's really not taking the piss out of a festival. It's a total blessing to be here, and so many great bands. And we've had a good couple months off, with like a hiatus, working on other businesses and things like that. So to come back to our first show in a while, a big show like this, is just great. It's fantastic. But the intimate shows are great too. It's kind of a tricky question.
They're both great. So what's up next for live after Rock on the Range?
Well, there's a big tour announcement that'll come up soon. It's not a U.S. tour. I can't exactly say where because we're a support act, and so we're not at liberty to say. But other than that, what I can say, it's in the Southern Hemisphere, and it's with a band that I've mentioned at least once in this interview.
Ooh, that is a great tease. Well, stay tuned for much more from live. Make sure that you get The Turn if you haven't already. This is Jackie. Thanks to All Access and In the Key of Change. All right, guys.
Thanks a lot.
What I would love for you to do for us,